I understand that you guys want classless and you want to, really show the diversity of your server, and I cannot, stress this enough. Taking two things that have zero synergy and trying to make them have synergy is not fun for a player. Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Drydek. I do videos about different Diablo 1, Diablo 2, and World of Warcraft mods. If any of that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing below, as there'll be many more videos in the future. All right, we are back again. Classes update number 7 by the man Nimzo. You guys just can't give me a damn day off, can you? Anyway, let's go ahead and go over this, guys. I've done some skimming on this initially, just to like kind of get a little bit of a feel for what's out there. But I wanted to give you guys kind of the TLDR of the update. But let's go ahead and dive into this. I know that there's a lot for this, so for the sake of not taking forever, I'm not gonna like read every single one of them. I will just go over the big parts of each change, and if you want, you can pause the video or go to the website ascension.gg /news/classes update to see it for yourself. Let's start. Okay, time has come for another classes update. We hope you are sitting comfortably because we have a lot to get into. Hell yes. Mana Crazed, Mana Fiend, increase your intellect by 30%, makes your arcane damage deal, replace your next auto attack with an attack that consumes damage, deal arcane damage. Dealing damage this way has a 50% chance to make you go into a Mana Crazed Delirium, increasing your spell power by 10% of your intellect, stacking up every second. While active, your arcane spells cost no mana, but maintaining this effect prevents you from gaining mana from other sources and drains your mana every second. When you drop below 20% mana, the Delirium ends. The mana drained is restored to you over 12 seconds as you come back to your senses. This is really cool, actually. I like this idea. A while ago in one of my RE videos, I talked about this RE that I made called Persistence Principle, which is if you regen enough mana naturally, you then get a similar effect. You deal more damage and your spells don't cost mana during that time. But just that increase to 30% intellect seems pretty big. I don't know if this is going to be used anything outside of what's intended as a DPS RE, but people are creative. They might find a way to put it in a healer build. So all this is basically just like 1 or 2% increased for these REs and talents. Not going to go over that. Hungering for Blood. Hunger for Blood has been reworked. This ability has been an obligatory pick for many PvE players for a long time, taking away a precious ability essence without really changing up how they play. The new version reads as follows. Enrages you, increasing all physical and nature damage caused by 10%, lasting for 5 seconds per bleed effect you have applied to the target. Also gives you movement boost for 5 seconds, increasing your movement speed by 15% per bleed you have applied to the target. This ability has a 30-second cooldown. So I've already experienced this because I ran it in my Hunter spec, as a lot of people did. The talent is pretty dog shit now for anything that are not physical and nature based purely. So Envenom Rogues are going to get a nice increase to their damage. Overall, I think it's kind of stupid that they changed it personally. Yeah, it was a mandatory, but it was still a buff you had to keep in the back of your mind, had to make a weak aura for it, whatever. Like dropping it in the mid combat and forgetting it for 5 to 10 seconds was actually a huge DPS loss. So it was a skill check, and yes, it kind of sucked that everyone took it, but now you have taken a classless quote unquote ability and put it directly into the hands of 1 to 2 specs. So your idea of a classless server really doesn't apply to this one, which I'm okay with. There has to be certain specialized things. I get that. There has to be archetypes or kind of falls apart, but I've used this and it's complete dog shit now for anybody that doesn't have heavy bleeds. New legendary enchant, Blood and Guts, transform your Eviscerate into Eviscerate, Disembowel. A finishing move that uses a dagger to make a swift incision, causing your target to take bleed damage for over 6 seconds. This damage scales with modifiers to eviscerate and can critically strike. You mutilate, deals bonus damage against disemboweled targets, execute, attempts to finish the target off, dealing bonus damage and triggering remorseless attacks if known. So this takes your eviscerate and turns it into a bleed. Interesting. If it actually truly goes off the base damage Eviscerate, this is going to be complete dog shit, because Eviscerate's damage is complete dog shit. It's so bad. It does less than a third of the damage Envenom does, even fully spec'd into it. The fact it can critically strike might be good. The fact that Mutilate does damage against disemboweled targets is pretty pointless, because Mutilate is basically just used as a vehicle to get as many Envenoms off as possible. So this is basically, your Mutilate is not going to be used with this ability. And Execute seems kind of silly, because if you're trying to cast Execute on something with a bleed and using, I don't know, this RE makes zero sense to me. And going by traditional standards, usually when a legendary RE comes out, especially for melee, it's usually complete garbage when it comes out, as far as damage and viability, and this one's probably not going to be any different. The Demolisher, legendary enchant Demolisher. Your Mortal Strike is transformed into Demolishing Strike, an ability that deals weapon damage and scales with Mortal Strike. In addition, demolishes the target's defenses, increasing the damage, physical damage they take from your attacks by 1%. Once it hits 10 stacks, empowers Riposte to deal 2 additional combat points and slow the target. That is strictly PvP. Mongoose Bite does not trigger its cooldown, is guaranteed to critically strike, more than likely aimed at PvP. I don't see a lot of people, especially doing a Mortal Strike single two-hander build, using Mongoose Bite at all. Expose Armor, reduce the target's armor by an additional 10% and increase your armor penetration by 20% for 20 seconds. They could have probably left these two off and just used this one, because this is extremely strong. Not only does it increase the damage of all melees in the raid by reducing our armor even further, it also increases your armor penetration by 20%. Stacking that with certain things, I would imagine you can get your ARP quite high. So one of 3 parts of the RE is really good, but again, traditionally, probably not going to do enough damage to outweigh the current ones in the game. Fingers of Death. New legendary enchant, Fingers of Death. Your Fingers of Frost now applies 2 stacks of Fingers of Death for 15 seconds, which causes your next Ice Lance to also cast a Shadow Lance. Shadow Lance grants a stack of Touch of Death for 15 seconds, which increases the damage of your next Vampiric Touch by 75%, stacking 2 times. In addition, your Frostbolt now applies Dark Wind to the target for 15 seconds, stacking 3 times, causing you to deal 3% increased periodic shadow damage to the target. Flavor-wise, 10 out of 10. Awesome. I love it. You're like a dark, you're like a Lich Frost Mage, and you got cold and shadow and blah, blah. Cool. Flavor-wise. Performance-wise, probably going to be really, 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 really bad. Just because you shove 2 things together at high speed and give them an RE does not mean it's going to work. This could work in Flex, which, overall, you should be balancing things around Flex. But for someone like me who raids Heroics pretty exclusively at this point, this pretty much is a non-existent RE. So we're going to move on. Tidecaller, new enchant, legendary. Your healing wave heals 25% more and applies 3 stacks of Tidecaller's boon on the target. This effect increases the healing they take from your periodic nature healing by 10% per stack, but reduces the healing they take from healing wave by 5% per stack. Stacks up to 15 times, and periodic healing removes 1 stack. Seems interesting. I don't really play healers all that often. Very rarely do I play healing anymore. I don't know really how well this is going to work. But it seems strong. It legitimately seems very good. It actually plays into each other fairly well. I don't know if a healing wave specifically uses a lot of hots, but they can, and this gives a even more incentive for it. So it's good. I would say good. The flavor-wise, checks out as well, and could be really powerful. Let's get on some epic enchants. Arcane Displacement, fully channeling arcane missiles on a target will trigger Arcane Displacement, instantly teleporting you behind them and striking them with your weapon, dealing arcane damage. This effect has a 15-second cooldown. This is going to be complete garbage. An RE that only procs once every 15 seconds, which teleports you into melee range to deal weapon damage, unless this scales ridiculously high off spell damage, is going to do maybe 200 damage. and you are potentially putting them in harm's way or taking them away from a soak mechanic they have to stand in. This RE is not good. Sorry, it's just not good. New epic enchant, Punisher, increased critical strike chance of your riposte when used on players. Riposte triggers Unrelenting Assault. Once again, triggers every 20 seconds and requires the final rank. Critical strike chance of riposte could be good for, I guess, tanking in a way. For parry, this increases threat quite a bit, actually. Pretty good when used on players. So the only thing that I really care about is that, and to me, this part is useless. So just look at the first part. In the zone, when your unfair advantage deals damage to a player, it also gives you a shield absorbing magic damage. This absorb value is tripled. If Ghost Strike is active, this effect can only occur once every 6 seconds and requires the final rank of unfair advantage. This itself would be an amazing tank RE. It would actually give a reason for other people besides Bear, and to a lesser extent Parry, to run unfair advantage. I understand probably giving Parry, who's already hitting 100% avoidance, a magic absorb could be considered broken in PvE, but this actually would open up some tanking diversity, which we desperately need. If this just worked for anything besides just on any damage, depending on how big this magic absorb scale, it could add another skill level to tanking. But again, this is a PvP talent, so I have zero interest in it. Impending Doom, your Mind Blast and Shadow Word Death increase your Shadow periodic damage dealt to the target by 20%. This effect lasts 3 ticks. Seems pretty good. 20% damage increase. Yeah, seems pretty good. If you can keep it up, that's a huge DPS increase. New epic enchant, Into the Darkness, forms a strong bond with the shadows, teaching you a stronger version of Vanish. This ability is usable while feared and will clear any fear effects on you and put a shield of you absorbing magic damage. Again, probably a PvP-oriented RE. I could see some very niche uses for this in PvE, but meh. Ward of Light, taking damage from a spell, has a chance to reset the cooldown of your Divine Storm. In addition, dealing damage with Divine Storm now dispels 1 magic effect from you. This could be used as a tank. Most tanks do not use Divine Storm, and by what I understand, most people in PvE also do not use Divine Storm. It's not very strong. So I don't know how that works. Moving on, Eclipse by Eclipse. Eclipse now only increases the critical strike chance of your Starfire and damage Wrath by 30%, down from 50. Baseline damage and spell power scaling of Wrath has been increased by 20%. Lunar Guidance increased by 10%. Improvement Fire 10%. Eclipse is an iconic balanced druid talent, allowing druids to combine Wrath and Starfire in a powerful and unique way. Not really unique. It was baseline since TBC, so, I mean, it's cool. As far as outside of balance, this seems interesting. The baseline damage and power scaling of Wrath has been increased by 20%. That might make this Locust Hunter dream that the devs think is good, might make it viable, maybe. It's still really bad. I don't know how much a 20% increase is going to be. We'll have to see the numbers on it, but yeah. That's all right. Let's move on. Let's get physical. A number of melee abilities have their power increased. Okay. Mutilate now deals 30% damage. Weapon damage up from 100%. Its bonus damage increased by 30%. The damage increase against poison target has been reduced to 10%, down from 45%. So their reasoning for Mutilate, damage has been shifted away from the poison requirement, so the damage will be good without requiring poisons. Nobody uses Mutilate outside of poisons, period. And just because you change the scaling of it doesn't mean someone's going to randomly start using Frostfire or Frostbrand weapon and Firebrand weapon. It's just not going to happen. So I think the damage is probably gonna go up, because anytime you increase the base scaling versus multipliers, it tends to do more damage, but we'll see. Pretty much a useless change, if you ask me. Backstab now deals more damage. It's good. It needed it. Crusader Strike does more damage. Divine Storm does more damage. So these two abilities rarely get used, by what I understand. If anyone from PvP world does use them, please tell me down in the comments how much this affects you, because I honestly don't know. But I can tell you now that from a PvE standpoint, almost nobody used these abilities. Coming soon, Arena Frenzy, weekly 2s event. You gain additional honor points. At the end, you receive a loot box containing Mystic Orbs, Runes, Mystic Scroll Enchants, and even a limitless Noggin Fogger Elixir. God, my brother would be so happy about that. He absolutely adores those elixirs in Classic WoW right now. It'd be cool if this was given to a PvE event as well, so it's not just for PvP boys, but we'll see. Player with the most 2v2 wins during the arena becomes the Arena Frenzy champion. Whoo! All right, closing in on 15 minutes. Jesus Christ, that's a big update. Okay. Overall, Nimzo, 9 out of 10, man. I got to give you props. If you're part of this, if you led most of this, and anybody on his team or anyone who has contributed to this, good job. I feel that this has lots of potential to shake up the meta of the PvE scene. Overall, I think it's a good change. I genuinely do. My biggest critiques for you guys to maybe think about moving forward. Hunger for Blood now is very specific to a build, and if you want it to be that way, then 10 out of 10. Awesome. If you purposely made this to be basically an ability strictly for Mutilate Rogues, that's fine. If you want to give them a buff, that's fine. I don't care. I think just taking away a generic or ability that doesn't just increase physical now takes it away from spellcasters that could use it. So I think you probably lost more than you gained by changing this, but again, I don't have the data to back that up. That's just on my first impression. This legendary RE probably going to be really, really bad. Mutilate doesn't really care about using Eviscerate, even if you change it into a bleed. They're still going to use Envenom, period. So the Mutilate aspect on this seems very unneeded. And if it truly goes off the base damage of Eviscerate, this is going to be complete poop. Straight up. Demolisher, good. I like it. Fingers of Frost. This my other big concern. I understand that you guys want classless and you want to, you know, really show the diversity of your server. And I cannot, you know, stress this enough. Taking two things that have zero synergy and trying to make them have synergy is not fun for a player, because most of the times you're adding negative value to your performance by using these REs, especially on release. So coming out with an RE that changes the way you play but makes you do substantially less DPS, unless it's like a 2%, 3%, 5% DPS loss, people are going to take performance over pleasure pretty much any time. And if this, you know, follows the same trend of most legendary REs coming out, this is probably going to reduce your damage by up to 20% by just switching 1 for 1 with whatever you're using right now and trying to build around this. So while cool, flavorful, performance-wise, probably not going to be good. Overall, I think it's all right. The Mutilate thing doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but again, I don't have the data backing it up, so, you know, I'm gonna have to trust you guys' best judgment on it. But the TLDR, for anyone watching, 9 out of 10. I gotta give props. There's a lot of really good things in here. You know, take my critiques with a grain of salt. If you don't like them, you don't agree with me, that's your own opinion. You can tell me, you know, we can have a discussion about it if you want. But this video is getting a little bit long, and I'm running out of talking voice. So let's go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. Thank you again for watching. If you made it this far, I want to personally thank you. I will see you guys in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye-bye.